Governor Mills was just one of the many visitors at the Maine Agricultural Trade Show in Augusta today.
The show was organized by the Department of Agriculture to highlight local farms and the emerging innovations and technologies in the field. Mills spoke to various vendors, including the University of Maine, to hear updates and new strides made in Maine agriculture.
She says from what she's seen, the future of agriculture in the state is bright and blossoming.
Our economy is primarily based on new technologies and on our legacy sectors of forestry, farming, and fisheries. We are so fortunate to be 9/10 wooded, to be a rural state, to have as much sun proportionally as the country of Germany has, and that's why there's been a lot of solar development here. So we're doing things differently. We, the industry, and the people of Maine are experimenting and being more successful with new techniques.
The Agriculture Trades Show continues through Thursday.
Due to the weather, they are delaying tomorrow's opening until noon.